Hello and welcome back to yet another video on my channel. Today I will be covering one of my favourite charts that I've ever made, and I've got a lot of attachment to this because this was indeed one of the first charts I've ever made. Now this is sort of a renovated and revamped version of that because I've developed quite a bit in my style since then. However, this is the House of Orsini, a very important yet slightly obscure house that was very, like I say, important for Italian history. And amongst their ranks we have 5 popes, so Pope Stephen II, Paul I, Celestine III, Nicholas III, and Benedict XIII. All the way into the 18th century. Now, I believe this is one of the oldest, still continuing noble houses to this day, and I don't think they can trace their lineage back to Charlemagne. I reckon there's probably a few marriages in there that would help them trace their lineage, but they really go back to this guy here, Gaius, or Caio, also. Now, he was a patrician in Rome around the time of Justinian. So this was after Western Rome had fallen, but Justinian had basically reconquered Italy and portions of the Western Roman Empire. Now, Gaius actually claimed descent from the Julio-Claudian dynasty, from a cousin of Julius Caesar, although that's probably a bit made up, for legitimacy's sake. Now, he is the first sort of ancestor from the 550s, so he's really going way back. Now, he had several sons, and if you go 6 generations down, you get to 3 brothers. So the first was Stephen II, who was the first of many also Bourbon popes. Now, I say also, that's how they were known back then. The House of Orso is basically the father house to the House of Orsini, but they were known as Bourbon also, because one of their members was called Bourbon. Anyway, the first was Stephen, who appealed to the new king of the Franks, Pepin the Short, for aid in Italy against the Lombards. Not only did Pepin deliver on this, but he also set up the Papal States, basically, as a vast territory in central Italy, stretching from Rome to Ravenna. So he called this the Papal States. Now, that's obviously a very important thing, and Stephen is basically responsible for the greatest legacy of the papacy in the medieval period. Now, his brother Paul I succeeded him, so it was quite a hereditary position, and of course he got in on bribery. Now, Paul I had a tumultuous reign, in constant conflict with King Desiderius of the Lombards. For centuries after the Papal Brothers, the family were known as the Bourbon also, or now the Bourbon Orsini, and that's through his brother Constanzio Orsini. Now, you go down 7 generations, like I say, you get to Bourbon Orsini. Now, he was the father of Peter, who was the father of Giancinto Orsini. And he was actually made Celestine III. Of course, by this time, the family was very wealthy, so they could secure papal elections. And this family, as far as I am aware, has the most cardinals of any family ever. So there are several cardinals on each generation. I've just not been able to cover all of them. Now, it's worth noting also that the Orsini family had a long-standing rivalry with the rival house of Colonna. Now, I'm going to make a video on them very soon as well, and they kind of run simultaneously to the Orsini, and a lot of their story is relevant for the Orsini. So just bear in mind that, these two families were at each other's necks. Now, Celestine III also had a very tumultuous reign. There was a dispute between King Henry VI of the Holy Roman Empire Henry found himself excommunicated multiple times, while Celestine also excommunicated King Alfonso IX of Leon. He died soon after confirming the Teutonic Knights as an order up in northern Europe. And after him, he was succeeded by Innocent III. He was a Conti and cousin of the coloners. And like I say, I will cover this family because they have loads of popes, actually. Matt Baker did a really good video on them, but yeah, I also plan on covering it soon. Now, Celestine's great-grandnephew was called Matteo Rosso, and he was a very important patrician. He avidly campaigned against Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II, who was also King of Naples in Italy, and defeated him in the 1243 Battle of Viterbo. He was also a very good friend of St. Francis of Assisi and funded a lot of his missions. He ensured that his son Nicholas was, his son Giovanni was made Pope Nicholas shortly after his death. And I'm now going to talk a bit about Nicholas's pontificate, which was quite short, but there were several important events. He greatly strengthened the papacy in Italy. In 1273, the Habsburg ruler Rudolf, the godson of Frederick II, had been elected as King of Germany and King of the Romans, which was more or less the Holy Roman Emperor. Pope Gregory X had recognised him as king after some hard negotiations, but the imperial title and coronation were withheld. Nicholas was willing to negotiate, but he refused to crown Rudolf as emperor until Rudolf had acknowledged all the claims of the Church to secular lands in Italy. Now, in the city of Bologna, the Exarchate of Ravenna had guaranteed that their lands would be given to the papacy as well. So basically, Nicholas's reign saw great expansion for his realm, and at this point I would like to point out that two of his nephews, Matteo and particularly Latino, were very important Dominican cardinals, who were important in the conclave, which is the election of the Pope. And obviously they could basically bribe the Pope into making various members of their family into cardinals. Nicholas's cousin was also the forefather of some of the Orsini despots of Epirus. Now, I made a video on them. It's one of my more popular videos, so I recommend you watch that if you want to see that connection. I think there are about 3 or 4 Orsini despots of Epirus, so yeah, very interesting link there, and that was sort of a Byzantine successor state. However, the Orsini line continued through this line here to the county of Tagliacozzo. Okay, now, let's see here. This is when we get to basically the Renaissance, and the Renaissance in Italy was really its heyday. So all of a sudden the family explodes into all of these various branches, so I'm going to try and cover some of them. The first guy is Giovanni Antonio. Now his father, Raimondo, was Prince of Taranto. Now when his father died, he was only 1 year old, and he married his mother married King Ladislaus of Naples, so he obviously was favoured a lot. Now, he himself married Pope Martin V's niece, Anna Colonna, okay, and Martin V is shown here. So there's a link to the Colonna family, although they were often rivals. Now, after James II of Scotland had a conflict with the Pope, he received the Principality of Taranto, that was, of course, his father's, as well as, and by the way, sorry, just to make this clear, he wasn't the son of Gentile, that should have some generations. For some reason I've not put that on. So anyway, he was made the most powerful baron in the Kingdom of Naples, including 7 archbishoprics, 30 bishoprics, 300 castles extending from Salerno to Taranto. And he was also given the title of Duke of Bari, or Bari. Now, when Alfonso became king, he was also made, Alfonso V of Aragon, was made King of Naples. He was made Grand Constable of Naples. So he was a very important mercenary and nobleman within Naples. Now, his distant cousins continued to be the counts and countesses of Tagliacozzo until we get to Clarice. Now, Clarice is probably the most famous of the Orsini. I believe she is on the thumbnail. And she married the most important bloke in Italy at the time, Lorenzo the Magnificent. Again, I've got a video on him and his family. But if anyone was to claim their descent from Lorenzo, they would also have to claim that Clarice was their ancestor. Now, she herself was a very clever and shrewd businesswoman. She often managed the famous Medici Bank while her husband was away negotiating and doing politics. Now, Clarice actually died before Lorenzo, which broke his heart, but she had a great legacy, and she's also one of the main characters in Netflix's Medici, which I might have mentioned in my video on the Medici, but that's a very good series. So if you've got Netflix, I highly recommend that you watch that. Her brother Rinaldo was also made Archbishop of Florence, sort of in the dowry of Clarice. So if you were to say that Lorenzo was the king of Florence, Clarice was very much his queen. Okay. Now, who else is there? Giambattista. Now, he was a distant relative, as you can see. You have to go from Clarice through her mother, then to her father, Carlo, then to his brother Lorenzo, then Lorenzo's son was Giambattista. Now, he was made a cardinal deacon by Pope Sixtus IV, and he was made papal legate to the March of Ancona by Innocent VIII, this chap here. Now, he was basically a very important cardinal until he plotted against Cesare Borgia, and he found himself in a lot of trouble and was secretly murdered in the Castel Angelo, which is that sort of big circular castle in the heart of Rome that you can often see from St. Peter's Basilica. Okay, now another important member was Paolo. Now, he was the brother of Lorenzo as well, and he fathered a famous mercenary who I haven't been able to show on the chart called Fabio Orsini as well. Now, he worked as a condottiero, which basically just means mercenary, in the Papal States, and with his nephew Giambattista plotted against Cesare and was executed for treachery. So, yeah, a lot of plots against Cesare Borgia. Now, it's worth pointing out that Italy at the time was very divided into many different principalities and states. So armies often didn't come directly from the states because they couldn't levy that many men because there were so many states and they were so small. So states had to rely on mercenary armies to fight battles for them. And the Orsini and Colonna families both had very big mercenary armies, which made them extremely rich and influential on the peninsula. So that's why it was seen as such a big piece of treason that Paolo Orsini was plotting against Cesare. Okay, Latino Orsini, he was the uncle of Clarice. He's also in the Medici TV show, and all I've got to say on him was that he was very rich, extremely wealthy actually, bought many palaces in Rome, and was sort of a protector of a few of his nephews, one of whom became the Pope. I say great nephews, really. Now, then we've got some more connections. So Francesco, he was made Duke of Gravina after his father, who was Count of Cario, died. Now, at first he owned lands in sort of a bit north of Italy, but was created Count of Gravina, in 1418, basically because he won a battle against the Angevin troops led by Charles of Naples. He obtained the dukedom, or the duchy of Gravina, by King Alfonso, and that title passed to his son, and Francesco was also killed with his brother Paolo and Giambattista in that plot against Cesare Borgia. I forgot to mention that earlier. We'll get back to his line in a minute. I would also just like to point out this guy here, Paolo Giordano of Bracciano. So he was basically, again, a very important mercenary, and he was also a close friend and confidant to the first Medici Grand Dukes of Tuscany. He was their brother-in-law. So he was a very important noble and was made Duke of Bracciano for that. Again, many castles, etc. And his descendants continued that duchy. And I believe the Duchy of Bracciano still exists, but isn't in the Orsini family. I think it's the Tortonia family that owns it currently. And the final person who's not on the Gravina line is Pier Francesco, Duke of Bomarzo. He also, like most Orsini, was a mercenary, but after losing a friend in a very deadly battle, decided that he would live in exile in his home city of Bomarzo, and he became Duke of Bomarzo and converted to Epicureanism, which of course is a Greek philosophy. So it's quite interesting that an Italian noble in the heart of Italy in the sort of Elizabethan period would, stop being a Catholic, but he didn't really get punished for it, and also constructed the monsters of Bomarzo. Just do a quick Google search and you'll see what I mean. They are quite interesting, but they were sort of supposed to convey loads of emotion, and again that linked to his philosophy. I believe Salvador Dali actually based one of his paintings off of those gardens, so that's an interesting link. Anyway, the Gravina line went all the way down to Michael I, Duke of Gravina. However, he died without any heirs, so it went to his sister, and she was actually ousted, and it went to her cousin, Pietro. Now, Pietro acquired this duchy, he paid for it, and then it went through his son to his grandson. Now, he actually decided that he didn't want to be the Duke anymore, so he more or less resigned. He gave it to his brother Domenico, and he decided to become the Pope. So, yeah, that's what he did, and he became Benedict the 13th. So he is one of the last popes who is from one of these important nepotistic families. And you can see he also relates to his direct predecessor, Innocent the 13th, because his nephew married one of his nieces. Anyway, he also made one of his nephews a cardinal, and then that cardinal actually decided to become the Duke after all, so he was both a cardinal and a Duke. Okay, so the family goes on a bit until we get to Duke Domenico, this chap here, who died in 1874. And he was the Minister of War and General Lieutenant for the Papal armies. He was also made a Senator of Rome. So that's an interesting link. He was one of the last really important politicians in the Orsini family. By this point, obviously, all of their lands had been taken, and really they were only dukes in name, although the family is still very wealthy. And the current Duke is this chap here, Domenico V. He's been Duke of Gravina since 1984. Now, he doesn't have any male heirs. He does have, I believe, a couple of daughters. So when he dies, the dukedom or the duchy should pass to his brother Benedetto, who is also unmarried. So after Benedetto dies, it will go to his cousin, Prince Lelio, who has actually married into the former Georgian nobility, which is interesting. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this interesting look at the Orsini family. It's a bit here and there, I gather, but it's one of the oldest and I believe most important families in Italy, stretching back all the way to the 550s until today, and it looks like the family will continue to survive for several more generations at least. And again, I really want to make a video about the Colonna family, who have similar roots, and both the Orsini and the Colonna are black princes, or members of the black nobility, which is still an institution in Rome that basically recognises these important noble families. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. Goodbye.